going on right now. Getting back in touch with my heritage and all these new things that are going on and then my mom and the things that y'all don't know. Something just impacted me and hit my heart so hard. It's a lot of things, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about my feelings. Feelings. So how do I feel right now? I think overwhelmingly, without even really reading, and this chart is one offline. I have my own that I created in Excel with a pie chart, but this one is one offline because it was easier to find it instead of trying to dig through all my files. But anyhow, because I make so much stuff. But right off without even looking at this, the way that I'm feeling is sad. So let's explore that because that's the overwhelming feeling that I have right now. And so that's the first tier of my feelings is sad. I feel sad. So the second tier, the lighter blue right outside of that is the second tier of feelings. And the thing about this whole chart is to pinpoint how you actually feel. A lot of times we don't know how we feel. And so we end up with a general overall feeling of malaise or frustration. But if we pinpoint what we feel and why we feel and how we feel, then it clears things up a little bit. But I am sad. That's what I'm feeling. Am I lonely? No. Am I vulnerable? No. Do I feel despair? I don't really know about that. Maybe a tinge. Do I feel guilty? Not really. Do I feel depressed? Not really. Do I feel hurt? No. So I would say more than anything, it would probably be despair. So let's move it on up some more and see if we can help pinpoint my feeling of despair even more. Do I feel isolated? Somewhat. Do I feel abandoned? That ship has long sailed, so even if it is, it doesn't. That's long gone. Which coincidentally, perhaps going to the top are the feelings that are derived from the ones at the bottom. So I do feel somewhat isolated. Do I feel victimized? No, not really. Do I feel fragile? Softly, like Yolanda Adams had that song, Fragile Heart. So I feel slightly fragile, softly fragile, and I do feel somewhat isolated. Do I feel grief? Yes. Do I have little markers I can put on here? See, if I have my little PowerPoint up or my spreadsheet up, I can put my markers on there to help me keep track. Am I able to mark this up? I think I am. Do I have my little pen? Yeah, I do. Let me see if it'll let me write on here. All right, let's see. Uh-oh. No, that's not what I want to do. I just want to write on the screen. So I feel isolated. It's not letting me write. I just want to write. Okay, no problem. What's the use of having a stylus if it's not going to let you write? But anyhow, so I do feel isolated somewhat. I do feel a little fragile. I feel a little grief. Do I feel powerless? I wouldn't say I feel powerless. Do I feel ashamed? No. Do I feel remorseful? Yeah. I feel isolated, a slight bit isolated, a slight bit fragile, a slight bit of grief, a slight bit of, I wish I could put a little marker on here so bad. A slight bit of nope. A slight bit of remorse. Do I feel empty? No. Inferior? No. Disappointed? Slightly disappointed. Embarrassed? Very, very small amount of embarrassed. And why do I feel all these things? Because of my mom. I feel I've disappointed my mom. She deserves so much more. And there's nothing I can do. And on top of that, now the U.S. has, as of the 21st, is pulling out of, basically pretty much pulling out of South Korea. Oh, let's look at the story together. Why don't we? And it makes me sad that I can't even tell this whole story to my mom in Korean because my Korean is awful. But anyhow, I'm going to move on. So let's look at the story. It was on Instagram, if it's still there. Knowing my luck is passed on now. Yeah, it's gone. That makes me even sadder. I don't know where that story went to. No, it's gone. But yeah, let's get off of that. Yeah, so South Korea is pulling out of. This is crazy, you guys. America is pulling away from South Korea because of whatever Trump's got going on with North Korea. And what makes me so sad about this is the manipulation behind it. Because just a couple of weeks earlier, there was some guy from Korea, and he was saying, yeah, we got to get the U.S. out of Korea, because they were talking about how the U.S. watched on the demilitarization zone, like the North Koreans kill all these South Koreans, and they did absolutely nothing. So I'm tired of everything. I mean, that's awful. And I'm so sad. And like for women, especially my mom being a Korean woman and then learning all the things that I've learned that I couldn't share with my mom that I learned. I mean, it's just so much. And then she actually called me today. And while she was calling me, I was busy trying to get this thing cleaned up. And then I thought about how I was going to go back to traditional work. That's what I said. But then I'm getting all these videos about all these workplace horrors. And I'm very familiar with all of those things. But I have an understanding, like I talked about last night during my live. And then I think about, I'm so hurt by the church. I don't even know whether to call people my pastor anymore. But he was my pastor. He still is, officially on paper my pastor. But I guess I feel like I've checked out. But what I've learned from him, and this pastor is a young pastor, just through observation. And a lot of times when we have pastors, especially if they're pastors that are anointed, or if you're anointed and God always sends you a message anyhow way he can. He was saying how, he was just saying in general, his congregation is like 800 people. I'm sure he wasn't talking to me, but it had hit home for me. He was saying how, I don't remember exact words, but basically the gist that I got from it was that you can't be successful if you run every time there's a problem. And because I was raised by the textbook, and that's the other part of having a family that's bicultural, biracial, and lots of prejudices on both sides of the family, you're basically raised, and then you're from the predominant parent, you're raised in a whole different country, so you're basically raised by the book, because if you say anything against that, the whole system will go crazy. But it's just a lot. But he recently, and me, this is me as a third party looking in, and again, what I say doesn't necessarily maintain his truth or anybody around his truth. This is just what I observed. But he went through something that was really trying, recently, in the past few months, and I didn't get it direct. God gave it to me on the side, and I got it, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know, And so he understands, I think, a lot of what people are going through that's coming through from, I don't know, because I don't know the whole story. I just know my part. But just, and he's a young person. And I know that if I was that age, and when I was that age, I had things like that because the pastoring is his job. That's what he gets paid to do. But some of the congregation don't understand that, And that's a lot of work when you're a good pastor and you actually care about people. And then you have to deal with all the people that's in the church that's straight up evil, And then that's still a human being. That he's not perfect either, So it's just a lot of dynamics that go into it. And so at 50 years old, I have to go back into the workplace, the traditional workplace. And then the other part that's scary is, what if I can't get back into the workplace? What if I try? And I can't, because I've been out for a little bit, even though I've been actively working. My way of working hasn't been in a typical environment where I'm around a lot of people, I am around people, but it's just, I don't know, but I have to leave it all up to God and see. But I know definitely I need to get back to traditional work immediately, like as soon as possible. Because regardless of everything that our family has been through, I still need to see my mom. Seriously. I still need my birth certificate. Seriously. So. But anyways, that's all. I wanted to explore my feelings. I love you with the love of Christ. Have a good night.